been coughing. My voice is bad, but you don't have to do any tests anymore. So let's hope all goes well and we get to Krakow without being sent back or quarantined or something like that. It is the result of traveling and abrupt weather changes. Let me explain. I was here for 2 weeks. Then I came back to London to this. And then 1 week later I was on the road again to this. Okay, dzień dobry, hey. Poland is currently one of the EU countries you can travel to without having to take pre-departure or post-departure COVID tests, without having to prove your vaccination status, or having to quarantine. If you live in London and flying to Krakow from London, I would recommend EasyJet flights from Gatwick Airport. Gatwick, unlike the other small airports like Stansted or Luton, is located inside London. If you are traveling outside peak times, you can easily get a return ticket for less than £100 or $100 even. When working remotely while traveling, I try to use my flight times to catch up on my editing or any other tasks that don't require the internet connection. This time, I bought the extra legroom seat by the window, which gave me enough wiggle room and no interruptions of having to stand up whenever other passengers wanted to leave the aisle.
You have arrived.
We landed and took an Uber to our Airbnb booked via booking.com. I try to use them often because of the loyalty program, which gives its loyal customers selected property discounts and other traveling perks. At the apartment, I realized that I forgot my main phone charger. I always have 2 phones with me, but the one without the charger had the UK SIM card in it, which is the one I use for making calls, the mobile hotspot, and all that. So I had to swap the SIM cards from one phone to the other. By the way, you can use English SIM cards in the EU the same way you use them in England. This will probably change eventually due to Brexit, but for now you can use them. So the next morning I left to work at a cafe. The Airbnb was a small 1-bedroom flat and I needed some space to focus on work. While looking for a place to work from, I noticed a few interesting things about Krakow in April 2022. For instance, the new Poland-Ukraine relationship. You see many Russia-Ukraine war reminders there, like this message someone left for Vladimir Putin. Interesting. There are Ukrainian flags displayed on buildings, Ukrainian subtitles on the Polish mainstream TV, Ukrainian translations of Polish notices in banks, at offices, etc., as well as job vacancy announcements in both Polish and Ukrainian. Poland is doing a lot to accommodate the Ukrainian refugees. However, we have all heard stories about racial discrimination towards non-Ukrainian refugees. I don't know the extent of the situation, but if you want to help Africans, Indians, and other non-white people fleeing to Poland, check out a fundraiser by Jasmine Turner. She's a Black American YouTuber who lives in Poland. I'm not associated with her channel, so please do your own research. I thought I'd mention this though, because her fundraiser is for non-Ukrainian refugees whose access to help appears to be less available. Finally, I found a cafe. So, this cafe had wonderful pastries, but they had no sockets, and my laptop's battery was running low. Because my computer wasn't fully charged, my internet connection kept dropping. Also, I was sitting on a very high chair, at a tiny table. This was the least ergonomic spot I've ever worked from. I was able to swap the seats. However, without the sockets, my battery started dying, and after about an hour or so, I was back on the road looking for another cafe. The mistake I made that day was not checking in advance where cafes appropriate for working remotely were located. Had I done that, I would have saved a lot of time. We were in Krakow for one day only, and I needed to get to work so we could go sightseeing.
Turn left onto Karmelika.
I'll just say I spent more time walking than working that morning. But I had no meetings or deadlines to miss, so it's all good. Oh. Okay, let's go in here. Dzień dobry. I like to patronize local businesses when I'm traveling, so I was looking specifically for a Polish cafe called Tektura, recommended by a lady from the cafe I had just left. But I came across Costa Coffee first. I knew that I would be able to work from there, and my time was running out, so on this occasion I chose to prioritize work over my local business support. Sorry.
Да, то есть, к примеру, если вот я могу преподавать классику и контемп, это, ну, если я это люблю, я это не говорю, мне это очень. Я вас
If you are traveling to Europe from UK or America, for instance, don't forget the European socket adapter, without which there will be no charging of electrical devices. Electrical power outlets have different shapes in different parts of the world. You can buy these adapters online or at most airports. If you forget to buy the adapter before you travel, you can still get it in electric department stores or travel stores in large cities. If you are traveling to a small Polish town, though, this is not the item you want to have forgotten. So finally, I managed to do some work. About that internet. I use my mobile hotspot, but my daughter complained that the internet at the Airbnb was super slow. Well, what an exaggerated 15-year-old calls super slow might just mean not super fast. So if you want a more reliable source, check out nomadlist.com, best places for digital nomads. It's a great guide for people working remotely from another country. After the work was done, it was time to unplug, literally and metaphorically. So we opted in for the exploration of Krakow's old town on e-scooters. About that in my next Poland vlog, but first we'll go back to Ghana and to the ocean, as promised.